What's up, everybody? My name is Jared, and this is the Las Vegas Marijuana Experience. This is the first video I have done in about 4 months. So first off, I want to let everybody know regular videos will be back. However, this one here is going to be a little bit different. All the ones after this will be just like the others, focused on the Las Vegas cannabis scene and anything related to that. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be sharing some reasons why I haven't been making videos over this time, a little bit of what I've been going through, and solely in an effort to perhaps help someone who might be facing a similar situation. If that's not what you're interested in, this is not going to be the video for you. Just bounce on out of it, hit up some of the other ones on the channel, and don't worry, there won't be any more like this. So circling back though, I'm going to be smoking weed throughout the video. Let you know I'm smoking on some skunk berry, a cross of skunk and blueberry, one of my very favorite hybrid strains, and I'll be actually talking a little bit about it later on in the video. Now, I've done a couple versions of this video already here today. I keep going back and forth because it's a little bit uncomfortable for me to be sharing some of this, and the only reason I'm doing it is because I feel that it might help someone who is in a similar situation, and that's it. I'm not looking for any type of sympathy. I'm not looking to be complaining about anything. I'm not looking for any attaboys, nothing like that. I've seen some other guys who were facing some things like this. Sharing it is kind of was helpful to me, and I thought this might be helpful as well. So I'll just dive right into it here. I haven't been on YouTube or making any videos for this channel because I've been dealing with just severe depression. I don't like sharing that. So again, this is a little awkward for me, so bear with me. Yeah, just severe clinical depression. And it is something that I'm coming out of now. The steps that I've taken and the things that I've been doing, if you were to describe it in the analogy we're all familiar with, like it's always darkest before the light or whatever. If this was nighttime, dawn has broken, things are brightening up, sunshine is returning, and I can tell that there's clear blue skies ahead. Okay, that's where I'm at, which is a massive change from where I was at a month ago. And it's, honestly, this started before this 4 month period, but that's the time that, I quit making videos and stuff on here. I did a series of things that I'm very confident is what has led me to overcome this, and that's what I'm just going to be sharing on this video. Because I'm not the type of person that can go to a shrink or a psychologist and take any antidepressants. I'm not giving any type of medical advice here. This is just my opinion. This is me, how I am, what worked for me, and I'm not one to go share shit with people. I don't want to go talk to a stranger, and I certainly want nothing to do with any type of brain chemical altering medication. I find antidepressants and the whole concept to be frightening. I'm not shitting on anybody that's taking them. That's okay. I'm not saying they're terrible as a whole. I'm saying they're not for me personally. The risk versus reward in that scenario, which is undoubtedly there, doesn't work in my favor. So I'm not saying anything about stopping meds or not taking any meds. You do what's best for you. You do your own research. For me, that wasn't an option. Okay, talking to somebody, I'm not that type of guy. I don't really think that was an option either. I do have a close friend I was able to share some things with, and I did reach out to some other folks, but that wasn't really the main thing that I was able to do here. So if you're at all like me, where, I always knew depression was real, but it didn't seem like some shit I was going to have to deal with. I mean, it seemed weird. But then I got smacked upside the head, and my life got flipped upside down, and that's why. So if you're anything like that, and you're the type of person that didn't want to go talking to a therapist and isn't interested in taking any drugs for it, any prescribed drugs, then this might be beneficial to you. And that's the only reason I'm sharing it, man. Little uncomfortable for me, but honestly, if you know anything about this channel or me personally, you know that I am big into the MMA and boxing. I was an amateur boxer when I was younger. I wanted to be a pro fighter. I made some life choices that got in the way of that. And now I have a podcast, Smoking Weed and Talking MMA. It does all right. I mean, we got like around 50,000 subscriber listeners each episode. It's doing okay. We're growing, and it's my way of kind of being involved in the fight scene. And I saw some fighters And I'm not comparing myself to them or anything, but they kind of inspired me a little bit. Like Tyson Fury talked openly about his battles with depression. In the MMA world, Max Holloway, who's the featherweight champ in the UFC, Robert Whittaker, the former 185-pound champ in the UFC, has opened up about this. And that was helpful to me, seeing men that I respected opening up about a subject that can kind of be taboo for guys sometimes. I know the spiral that I was in, even when I realized I was feeling depressed, I felt shitty for being depressed. I was like, God, you fucking pussy. That's how I felt inside. It's just a vicious downward spiral that wound up with me just being in a really, really bad place. And making videos for this channel was about the last thing I was interested in doing. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do my work. I didn't really. What's the fucking point? Is the way I felt. I felt, what is the goddamn, excuse my language if that's offensive, point of anything? What's the point of breathing? I didn't get to be suicidal. And if you are, I'm gonna go ahead and post a number down there on the bottom. I don't know if the suicide prevention line is really helpful or not. I've never called it, but if you're feeling that bad, there's a number there. But the truth is, I never got like that, but I did get feeling like, what's the point of fucking existence? Like, it doesn't matter if I get out of bed. It doesn't matter if I stay in bed. And things just spiraled there from there. Even thinking those thoughts made me feel worse, and I quit exercising. I had surgery at the beginning of the year. I got out of shape. I started eating worse. Then that made me feel worse. I got weak. I grew a pot belly. My arms all shrunk up. I just, God, and all that just compounded everything. And it gets to a point where it's overwhelming. And if you're there, man, I'm telling you, and you can't, and talking to people doesn't help, and therapy is not for you, then you can get through that shit. I did, and I didn't think I'd be able to. I don't know what to do. Like, I literally had no idea what to do. It was so frustrating. Then I spent some time, I did some research, I tried a bunch of different things, and then kind of a mixture. It was no one thing. I don't think there's any one thing that fixes anybody. It was a mixture of these things for me. It turns out there are things anybody can do, kind of helped. And, I mentioned earlier some of these people that have opened up, and famous, or people way more famous than me. I'm not famous at all, but I'm just saying, like, people in the fight game that have opened up about their depression. It's great they're opening up, and it's cool to see that, it's good to know you're not the only person, and you're not some kind of weakling for being depressed. But they weren't sharing a lot of what they did to overcome it. I mean, they're athletes, so I get the fact you're exercising. I get it. But okay, so what? Exercising, I'm just going to feel better. So what I'm sharing is everything I did here. So let's go ahead and dive into that real quick, and I'll try to keep it as short and succinct as possible. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit this weed. If you're watching, you got some weed, you should smoke too. So, man, I love skunkberry, man. If you got skunkberry in the area, you should check it out. If you've never tried it before, really quality strain if you're getting it from a good breeder. First thing I did was, it was kind of a twofold effect. I got off social media because I was feeling depressed, but then I realized what a cesspool social media had become, and I purposely stayed off it after that, and I quit going back. I haven't been on Facebook now in, I think, over 3 months. I haven't been keeping track past a certain point, and I'm barely active on anything else. Even the Instagram channel or page or whatever for the Las Vegas Marijuana Experience, I haven't been on there. Just nothing. And getting off Facebook was a big deal because I have a fairly large amount of Facebook friends, something in the neighborhood of 3,000 or something. So, like, I got bombarded with a lot of different people coming across my feed, and it seemed at the time, I don't know what it's like now, it's probably worse. It was about 90% political arguments of some form or the other, and like 5% like religious arguments or terrible news being posted, and like 2% fucking your friends and family, and 3% people with inspirational quotes. I don't, but whatever. But the negativity was overwhelming, and I found myself just getting drugged down by it and thinking about these conversations and shit that people were having. Well, it was affecting my day, so I cut that nonsense out, which was hard. This stuff's like an addiction in a weird way. It's a psychological addiction, I think. But I got off of that. The only thing I really missed was some of the few interactions you had with friends and family that you can't really talk to But you know what? It turns out we actually have phones that can call people. I discovered that again too. It's weird. Just kidding. But at any rate, I turned all that noise off. And the second thing I did after that was, and this was purposeful, is I turned off all the news, which for me was really hard. I'm a political junkie, kind of a news junkie. I dove into it after 9/11 happened back in the day. It just really sparked this intense need to like be aware of everything going on. And so that was really hard, but that's been really, really, really beneficial because the news, no matter what side of the political spectrum you fall on, and I really don't care. Um, I'm not foolish enough to think that my own political opinions are the only right ones or the right ones. I don't mean left or right. I mean correct. Um, Whatever. I don't care what anybody is, but that's all the news is political arguing and political nonsense and political spin one way or the other. And no matter what side of that political spectrum you fall on, it's a disaster. If you're a Republican, it's a disaster. If you're a Democrat, it's a disaster. If you're a Libertarian, it's a disaster. If you're a communist, it's probably a disaster. I don't know, but it's a mess, and it's nothing but spin one way or the other that you're getting. You're not getting the news. You're not getting the truth. And the reason that that's happening, and I think it's undeniable that it's happening. It's undeniable, and there's a reason. The reason is because people now make money off of the news. They need clicks. They need views. They need advertisers. They need people talking about it on social media. And how do you do that? You get people inflamed. How do you get people inflamed? You spark their anger. 50, 60 years ago, when we didn't have cable TV, well before my time, obviously, but I'm in advertising in the real world, and I do know about this kind of stuff. The reason that they had news, and news has always sold advertising, but when you had just the big three networks, and they had just the nightly news that came on, or perhaps the afternoon broadcast, and that was all you had for TV news, these stations and these companies, these major companies, didn't look to the news to make their money on. Yes, they had to sell advertising on it, but it was a leading loser for them. It brought people into the station at a loss usually, and they stuck around and watched the other programming. They made all their money off all of the other programming. Okay. Now, since CNN came around and Ted Turner invented that, the 24-hour news channel, they have to sell advertising on news. They have to bring viewers in, and then you got all these other ones that jumped into the mix, and then the networks and the big three have to answer all that, and then this industry pops up around the fucking news, right? And now everybody has to sell things. They have to spark conversation. They have to be in it all. And it means that we just get this twisted version. And it not only is the news negative, but it's amplified. The negativity is fucking amplified. And sometimes it's really hard to notice it till you turn it off, and then it dissipates and you start just realizing. I mean, it's like if you eat sugar every fucking day and then you cut all the sugar out of your life for like a month, right? And then you have something mildly sweet and it just blows you away. Like you go have a donut at Krispy Kreme and you're like, oh my God, I can't eat this. It's too sweet. It's like that. You see the news like that. You start to realize there's shit going on. So I don't mean to go on a rant. It's just, that was a big, big fucking thing for me, and it was hard. But once I got that source of negativity out of my life, that was a big difference. And just as a quick aside, the truth is you can't do nothing but go vote anyways. And you probably know who you're going to vote for already. So why listen to all this nonsense that you can't affect and you can't change unless you're going to grow and be a politician yourself? You can't do nothing but vote. So why listen to it? Why listen to the noise? It's horrible. It's horrible. So I turned that crap all off, and that's been a real blessing, and I'm going to keep that off. I may go back to some social media, but anyways, I'll try to move on quicker here. The next thing that I added in is I started exercising again, which I know that's really common. It's not like I invented that idea, right? You can go Google depression, I'll tell you to exercise. But the truth is, sometimes that can be daunting. And for me, I used to work out a lot, and the thought of just jumping back into that was daunting. I was like, fuck, man, I don't think I can do that, especially the way I was feeling about myself, like I was a giant piece of shit. I felt like that I was incapable of exercise. Like, nope, I can't go do a 2-hour workout or do a 1 hour twice a day. Like, no. So instead, I got out of my house. I got some sunlight too, and I just started walking, man. And then I started walking on the treadmill. And then I just got small victories and back into the little swing of things. And then I've been adding to it from there. So like, don't be, intimidated by the thought of exercise. Just do something small. Just do something small to get out of the house and get moving again. And so combined with that is I switched up my diet dramatically. After my surgery, the beginning of this year, I really kind of let my diet go. And then I admit I've always been a terrible sweet junkie. And that's not just the weed. Like it's like I'm high right now. I don't want anything sweet to eat. But at night I get the sweet cravings like crazy. Um, and I would just eat massive amounts of candy, like, or ice cream or cookies or whatever. I'm blessed with a fast metabolism, so I could do that type of stuff. And I'm not completely over that yet. Like last night, I mean, I'm still eating some sweets. I have like 15 M&Ms, which for me is a huge victory. I would have eaten 3 bags before. And 15, that's 15 is one bite. You know what I'm saying? So I've been slowly working that out. That's been the hardest change for me, but I've cut way back, and it's almost there. Um, I cut out a lot of the processed foods totally. And then the one big addition I did to my diet, which just might sound really weird, but I discovered this stuff called bone broth protein powder, which you have to make sure it's from organic, pasture raised, grass fed cows. That's very important. Or you can get chicken as well. And that's what it sounds like. It's like a concentrated form of bone broth, which is different than bouillon. Don't get it confused with bouillon. Bouillon is not healthy. Like the things that we make soups out of in today's day and age are not healthy unless someone is making actual bone broth and then using it as a soup base. But that's where these things, like everybody's heard how chicken soup is good for you when you're sick. That's where that saying or whatever it is comes from. It was back in the day when people made chicken soup they made chicken stock from boiling chicken bones. And you got the health out of the marrow and the other things that are in the bone. Well, bone broth today in this protein powder is the same thing. It's just concentrated down into a powder form. It blends right in with water, tastes pretty pleasant. You can blend it into other stuff too. Um, I've had a lot of health problems since my surgery, which have also led into the depression that I was feeling. And one of them was my stomach's been all fucked up. So and I discovered the bone broth while researching ways for my stomach to heal itself. And then I discovered that it does all these things for your mood as well. It's a supplement or whatever, so it's not FDA approved. So this isn't a medication. It's not been evaluated by the FDA, and it'll say that on the bottle or the container. But you also see it does say that it improves mood, and I found that to be drastically true, amazingly true. So I'd encourage you to research that. But just diet in general. If you're eating shitty food and especially if you're drinking a lot of diet sodas and stuff like that, these chemicals they mix they don't mix well with your body and most people with their body chemistry and can really depress you mentally. And that's what was going on with me too. Was not from soda so much, but just my diet. Let me hit this real quick. So I've been fixing my diet, and that's been really helpful. I've been getting the exercise. I've been getting out and getting sunlight. Sunlight's been a big thing because when I was feeling just so shitty about everything and about myself, and I didn't want to get out of the house, I didn't want to see anybody, I just wanted to hide in my bedroom. Like, and I know that sound. If you've never dealt with something like that and you happen to be watching this video for some reason, I know how that can sound stupid. I get it, but it's real, man. And if you're feeling that way, like I was, you don't have. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. And again, why I'm making this video because you don't have to be ashamed to fucking tell people about that, right? Other thing I did is I did reach out to some people. Like they tell you to do that to, tell somebody what's going on. And I had mixed results with that because I don't really feel like sharing all these things with people. But I decided to just be honest when some people that I'm fairly good acquaintances with and things or friends here would ask me how I'm doing. I would be like, not good actually. To be real with you, I'm dealing with some depression and I'm not sure how to deal with it. And just seeing what happened from that. And that was a little awkward, but I did find it helpful to just share. I didn't share much with anybody, mainly with my best friend in Colorado. I've known him since I was 12, so I can unload some shit to him, and hopefully you got somebody like that in your life. And if you don't, whatever. I didn't tell him everything that's going on because, like I said, I'm just not that guy. But it was helpful to at least put that out there. And it might be more helpful for you if you're uh, the type of person that's more willing to talk about those type of things, but you still don't want to like go to a therapist, right? Um, One of the people I reached out to, my friend Tiffany in Colorado, she got me doing something which has been a really big help. Which I guess I've heard of it before, but I never really thought about it. And that's a grateful list, which is just what it sounds like. It was a list of things that I'm grateful for, or you're grateful for, whatever, you're doing a list. And it sounded really silly to me at first, but I stuck with it and I did it. And I'm supposed to work on it every day. I'll be honest, I haven't been doing it every day. I do it most days. But what it has got me doing is really being aware of the things I have in my life to be grateful for. And it's got me where it's starting to be almost a habit to think about those things. Because as soon as I think about, oh, I forgot to write on my list before I left the house today, well, then I automatically start thinking about things that I'm grateful for. And that's a really good habit to get into, especially if you can make it become a habit. And it doesn't have to be major things. I mean, we're all grateful for like the major things in our life, right? But I've discovered it can be the silly things too. Like I'm grateful it's a bright sunny day. I'm grateful I got this decent cup of coffee today. I'm, I'm grateful I can stay at home and watch Breaking Bad on Netflix. Whatever. It can be things that sound silly, but that just get you in this habit of thinking about the things that you're grateful for. And if you're lucky enough to live in America, you got something to be grateful for. I mean, despite what people tell you, especially on the news and politicians with their BS, this country is a great one to live in. Even if you're poor and destitute here, you're better off than you are in other countries. And don't twist what I'm saying. I'm not saying America's perfect. That's stupid. I'm saying that if you're lucky enough to live here, be grateful for that at least, because it's better than getting born in other countries where you can get killed for your political beliefs. You could get killed for your religious beliefs. You could get killed for your sexual orientation, for God's sake. That still happens. We still have slaves in the world in 2019. There are still people being stoned for their sexuality. There, it could be way fucking worse than if you're broke and poor and in some trouble in America. So that's all I'm saying. No matter how fucked up it is, and if you're somewhere else, well, I don't know. You might be going through some more serious stuff than we are, but there's something in your life you can be grateful for, even if it's the little things. And write it down. That really worked for me. And it's something I'm going to continue to do, even if it's the silly things, quote unquote. It doesn't really matter. So, all of these things combined together, the diet, the exercise, the sense of accomplishment that's coming from getting some of these things done, the bone broth protein powder, to all of these things is cannabis as well. Now, there's people that say that cannabis is a depressant. I don't know. I feel that everybody's body's different, and I think cannabis affects everybody in slightly different ways. I did try not smoking, and that just made things like way worse for me. That was not helpful at all. I find cannabis to be very helpful in dealing with depression. What I did start doing was experimenting around with the different strains and the different terpene profiles until I found something that was really uplifting, something that made me feel really happy. And that's actually the reason why I'm still smoking on this skunk berry. I tend to switch up my weed all the time. I typically only buy 2 grams at a time when I buy weed from a dispensary. And there's 2 reasons for that. Number one is I just like to switch things up all the time. Like after 2 grams, I want a different strain. And secondly, Vegas is still filled with shitty cannabis. And if I'm going to get shitty cannabis, I don't want to get a quarter of it. God's sake, I've learned my lesson. I've made that mistake back when we first got weed here, legal weed, and now we're coming up on year 3, I think, year 2, whatever it is. I can't remember right this second. We still got plenty of shitty weed. But anyways, I found the skunk berry, and I've been smoking on this a lot. Now, I've just been buying this almost exclusively here these past few weeks because its terpene profile and its overall effects are very, very uplifting. They're very, it's very heady for me personally, and it's just, I find it enhances my mood a lot. So that's been another thing. I've also experimented around with getting terpenes, cannabis terpenes, mind you, from outside sources. So there's an increase in those. And one of the products I found that's been helpful, this is not a paid endorsement. Full disclosure, I did get this product for free. It was sent from my other channel for the Smoking Weed and Talking MMA podcast as a product to review on there and talk about. But I've been using it in my personal life. That's not why I'm talking about it here. You can probably find something similar from a different company, but this is from Hemp Fusion. It's their stress product. You can see there is a full spectrum hemp extract. So it not only has the CBD in it, but it also has the terpene profile of the hemp plant in there, whichever one that they got this from. I think they all are going to vary just like cannabis for the most part. But the particular terpenes mixed with some healthy oils, like there's some sunflower seed extract in here, as well as some MCT oil, a few other things. I found this beneficial to my mood as well. CBD as a whole, I think, is going to be helpful in this area. And I'd encourage you to experiment around if you're lucky enough to have dispensaries or access to, terpene profiles of your cannabis. Experiment around with some different terpenes and see how those mix for you. And that's about it. All these things that I've been doing have really, really, really made a big difference. And I know it's those things because I've been I've been feeling like this for a while. Like shit has been fucked up. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It wasn't like I got a little bummed out. And now I'm smoking weed and I feel better. Like, no, man, like I was getting desperate feeling like, so I understand if you're feeling that way, maybe this exact recipe of things that I just outlined won't work for you specifically, but something similar might. And I hope that that is in some way helpful at all. And if you watch this video and you don't like it and it's annoying, I'm sorry, you didn't have to watch it. This would be the only one like it. This channel is not about this type of thing. And the only reason I made it was, again, to just address a topic that seems to be taboo. I mean, look here, I'm not comfortable doing this, and it's because of the taboo that's around talking about this. And I can only speak from the male perspective. So if you're a guy, like, it's not something, the depression that is just out there in the open a whole lot. And it's one thing to hear famous sports athletes and things talk about overcoming it, and hope maybe it's helpful just to hear about some fucking regular guy. I'm no different than anybody else, man. But what wasn't going to work for me was pills and doctors. This did. It's continuing to work. I'm feeling a lot better. Thank you, everybody. My subscribers have like tripled over this period of like time when I wasn't even putting out videos, and I really appreciate all that. All the videos from this point forward will be back to main topics of Las Vegas, cannabis, and that scene and everything around it. And get back to hitting this herb. I have videos dropping immediately after this one, so you can count on them coming on the regular now. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you found it useful. Hope you're smoking some good weed. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.